practitioners in the audience, maybe you'll find in what I'm talking about a model that may be useful for you in marketing your practice. You see, all of us sometimes feel tied down, constrained, and we want to be free. We want more options. But more options aren't always freeing. Sometimes they're debilitating. An option can be freeing if you know what kind of toothpaste you want, and you go right toward it and pick it out. But if you don't know what you want, especially if they're written in a foreign language, you wonder, what should I choose? Even worse is when one of the options is unsafe. If you have a bushel of 25 apples, and I come and I add 10 more apples, maybe some of my apples are better than any of them that you had, but one of my apples is poisoned. What happens to your ability to comfortably choose among those apples? You see, choice and options are only freeing when we have three words for you: the power to spontaneously choose among useful options. So how do we get this kind of spontaneity? Constraints. So children on the playground, when they have a fence around the playground, will tend to play in the middle, lost with my slides jumping there. So children, when they're on a playground, will tend to be able, that's fine, will tend, without a fence, to play in the center of the playground. Because they're uncertain of what's around the outside. Is it safe? And you add a fence and they're able to play broader on the playground. The same is true if you think of that slide with the person holding her knee as we touch into what our own constraints are and how free we can be playing within those. So how do we actually go about getting useful options? We predict. We pay attention to feedback, and then we modify our predictions based on that feedback. And we even when the foundation that we're walking on is uncertain, we're able to select among those useful options. And how do we find power? Well, we find power by being able to carry forward our small successes, and to have one success influence another, and influence another, and influence another. And we can do that because those small successes, in them, we have connected to our own strength. We've modulated our own strength, and we've been able to carry that forward. That knowledge comes deep in our bodies, and that's freeing. That's why I'm so happy, actually, to be a practitioner of the Feldenkrais method. Because the Feldenkrais method is a way of giving people freedom. We can thank Moshe Feldenkrais, the creator of our method, for, he's a student of human choice. He's a student of the ways that we can touch into our actions and find freedom. As Feldenkrais practitioners, we're able to help people be free by helping them carry forward those small successes. We're able to create learning experiences by which they can determine what's important to them and reach toward it. We're able to, as Feldenkrais practitioners, create learning experiences by which people can find ways that what they're interested in doing, they have greater potential, greater power to choose among available options spontaneously, without having to think about it, so that they're able to do what they most want to do. So what would freedom look like to you? What would increased freedom look like? Maybe you'd be flying high in the clouds. Maybe freedom is something that to you might be a little bit more mundane, and yet still significant for you. Sometimes the greatest freedoms we can have come from being able to let go of the pain that we have, the meanings that we have attached to painful experiences. And those meanings can sometimes cut more deeply than the pain themselves. Even when the pain doesn't necessarily let go, we can let go of those meanings. Finding freedom also means the ability to make connections. I tell prospective clients, schedule 4 appointments in 2 weeks. If after the 3rd appointment you're satisfied, go and tell 2 other people. If after the 4th appointment you don't find some increase of freedom in a meaningful way to you, I'll give you your money back. I've been making this offer for more than a year. I have yet to give anyone's money back because despite things we cannot guarantee, we can guarantee increased freedom.
Okay, so what I want to do is talk a bit about self-imposed limitation. And that's a big subject, so I'm going to take one particular example that seems like sort of artificial in some ways, but also deals with a mechanism that we run into all the time in our practice. And this is what happens when you try to get up from a chair where somebody's holding you down. And the most common way of responding to that situation, as this slide shows, is you lift your feet in the air and you push your butt into the chair. And that won't get you up if nobody's holding you down. Somehow it feels like it will when the constraint is there. But if you just ignore the constraint and go ahead and move as if you're getting up, you'll find that getting up happens. The person who's holding you down comes right along with you. And this sounds counterintuitive, but play with it later with yourself and see if you find that that's what happens. So what's going on when you get stuck? I think what's going on when you get stuck is, and this is a very common reaction, not just against this constraint, but against lots of other constraints. And that is, you put a lot of effort into doing something that wouldn't work if the constraint weren't there. In this case, pushing your butt into the chair and lifting your feet in the air. And then you blame the constraint for the fact that it didn't work. And if you really pay attention to the process that you're involved in, to the moving forward, it continues to happen. It's the getting distracted from that process and going into this sense of resistance and this sense of pushing. And one of the things that happens when you have that experience, when you find you aren't really held, is a real sense of freedom and joy. And you can see that in this person. In terms of thinking about what's going on here, one of the influences, one of the people who's been a big influence on me, is Benjamin Whorf, who was an anthropologist and linguist who worked in the Southwest in the early part of the 20th century. And Whorf looked at different languages. He's the author of the Whorfian hypothesis, which is the idea that the language you speak really plays a major role in the way you perceive the world and the way you interact with it. And we'll tie that into this example a bit later. Whorf looked at two basic language categories in his comparisons. English and what he called standard average European languages are all basically object-oriented. We see the world in terms of physical objects with fixed dimensions and fixed sizes and a particular place in space and so forth. And that's what we see the world as. Languages like Hopi tend to see much more process, flow, a sense of continued continuity. And it's two very different ways of seeing the world. The object-oriented languages see solid objects. The process-oriented languages see flow. How do we turn this back into the example that we were looking at? And think about getting up out of a chair. If you just let yourself do it, it's a process that flows. When someone's got their hands on your shoulders, you lose contact with that process. You shift your attention from the process to this thing, to this object that's in your way. And you put all your effort into fighting the object rather than continuing with the process. This is at lower levels. This is behind things that we label as parasitic movements, or behind problems that people have at all sorts of different levels. For us as Feldenkrais practitioners, thinking in terms of process, and that's not just sort of a labeling difference, but it really involves a shift in how you think about the world and in how you bring things into focus and how you see them. Can make a big difference in the way you connect with people, and what you have to offer, and in how it all works out. Thank you.
Here's your first slide. Go for it, girl.
Hey.
Go.
I love the Feldenkrais method. Oh, the places you can go. One of the things I love so much about the Feldenkrais method is all the different ways that we can work with people, where we can work with them, and how. Is it developmental? Well, babies do it. I can't see that. Sorry. Babies do it. Yes, thank you. Oh my God. Okay, so babies do it. I'm so sorry. How many of us here work with babies and children work with it? This is actually a little boy who is 5.5 years old who was diagnosed with autism and cerebral palsy. After just a handful of lessons, do you recognize this awareness through movement lesson that he designed and picked himself? Teens do it. I think that when we work with teenagers and we're teaching them awareness through movement, they are going to grope each other less and they are going to grope themselves a whole lot more. That's the future that I'm looking for. Okay, is the Feldenkrais method, I mean it is the Feldenkrais method skeletal. This is an actual workshop that the whole Southern California region did. And we had lots of people come and we were teaching it in many different ways, and this one was done in a structural skeletal way. Is the Feldenkrais method neurological? You better be your sweet Bibi. It's like we work in the brain changes itself. So I think we know a little bit about that, but anyone that's gotten down and rolled around on the floor long enough knows how much better they feel. How about that Feldenkrais method? Is it about living your best life? Yes, it is. For each and every one of us that are in here, know that our life improves when we move and use ourselves in these ways that are natural, that we are designed to do. Oh my God, I can't breathe that. So anyway, I know the Feldenkrais lessons teach you to think and sense wherever you are and whatever you're doing, whether you're in the kitchen cooking or in the garden, or whether you're swimming, or whether you're out there doing sports and being athletic. We work in so many different ways. Oh yes, we do. I even have a couple more seconds of that slide. We work in okay. Your life is yours, and live it to the fullest. Move, love, and laugh, or move, laugh, and love, because when we move, how often do we laugh? And when we laugh, we can more joyfully love ourselves and then love other people. Yes, okay, Feldenkrais means friends and family. We are all here together. My mother gives you a blessing, not from a God, not from anything, but that we are all here together because we're extended family and our family grows. This is my graduation from my training, and this is only half of us. So this was from Amherst. Half were in Amherst the last year, half were in Tel Aviv. We can see so many people we recognize. And you know what? We maintain our friendships. Check it out. There's Garrett Newell. There's Olivia Cheever, wherever you are. There's Ralph Stroud. There's Bob Schulenberg. And then Roger Russell, who's not here. But Roger wasn't in our training, but we're still friends. So not only do we have old friends, but we make new friends. Because the longer we're in our organization, we still have some old friends, but we make new friends. Every time we're in a training, every time we're in a workshop, everywhere we go and we study with each other, we're connecting with each other. And some of those new friends, yeah! So we can learn to use ourselves in many different ways, and I would say that that's more on the neurological sucking level. Add a little bell to that lessons. Remember that part about wherever you go? She's a practitioner also. Wherever you go. So we're having a family gathering. My cousin is going to Oikavalt. I have a problem. My mother says I've got the thing. So here she is. This is Mother's Day. I had a little neck thing going on, and there's my mom. Every moment my husband grabbed the camera and said, let me take a picture of that. My mom's still helping me. My question to you is how many people, wherever you go, can you reach out who you love and that you're helping? So guess what? We don't just work with each other. We work with animals. A lot of us still will work with our own pets. There's a lot of things we can do. The only thing I suggest is if you work with a porcupine, there's really special gloves for that. I want to say thank you. Moshe Feldentalks, you really did pave our way with gold. Gold means so many things. It not just shines in your hair, but it also shines in our life and in our spirit. Moshe, thank you very much. Love all of us.
Don't touch. Don't touch.
Do not touch.
All right. My talk is called Pearls Without a String. That's my term for what sometimes happens to us. We can have wonderful beatific experience, profound experiences on the floor, but without a daily consistent practice, they're pearls with no string. Don't touch it.
15 seconds.
The problem with experiential learning is that it is transitory, it is fleeting in its essence. Learning how to learn may not be about how far you go or how deep you go, it's what you're able to bring back. Don't touch it! Shit. All right. Oh, Jesus. That's a carrot. It's Latin for it lacks. Chuck Close, the artist, said you need 3 things to get through artist grad school. You need a thick skin. People are going to criticize you. People are going to give you constructive feedback. You may be paying these people to do this. You need to know what you lack, what capacities you haven't developed or in short supply, and you need to know where to get these things. A book, an experience, a teacher, a place. Distinguish your enthusiasm. Enthusiasm for the teacher, enthusiasm for the lesson, enthusiasm for the work and for yourself. And I can't see, okay. Great. You need to figure out social media. You don't need to be a maven, but it's nice to share other people's content, but it's even better if you create your own. You must create your own writing and make sure that your stuff says what you think it says. Okay? Editing your own writing is about as close to the Feldenkrais method as anything I can come up with. Charge for your work. Deliver your work. Invest in your work. And please spend on your own work. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Sometimes I'm not even sure which is the lower percentage. The number of trainees who graduate and don't go into this work, or the savings interest rate in my local online bank. Numbers can help you understand abstract things and put them into concrete perspective. Think before you send that email. No, I'm serious. Think really hard before you send that email. These are all timed. Oh my God, okay. It feels longer. This is the ampersand. In the old computer programming language of Fortran, the ampersand tells the compiler that these 2 sentences, these 2 lines of code must be considered as a single instruction. Sound familiar? Where do we do this? There are many pluses and minuses to a daily practice. The toll, the time, the mileage, the discovery, the privacy, the self-delusion. But only those with a practice understand the values of these things and understand how to interpret their experiences accurately. Keep your secrets. Share your insights, but teach your practices. Judo highly influenced Moshe Feldenkrais. He met with the founder of Judo. He studied with his top students. You want to know the secret to Judo? Mr. Kano was asked. Never miss practice. I leave the last words to Mr. Mufune, who's going to come on the next slide unless I touch it. I don't know if it'll play. Will it play? Play, Gabby, play. Oh, I don't know. Okay, it's fine.
Andrew, you just messed up.
I messed up. Let's see if it'll do it. It's not going to show up there. No, they're not going to see it.
All right, continue talking.
It would be good if you would practice your flash talk. Practicing a flash talk. I'm sure that little bumps and driving onto the shoulders will never occur. Wait, let me go to the restroom first.
Isn't it fantastic?
Yes.
We have systemic change happening within our community. We have greater recognition by the public. It could be that we're at a tipping point, but there's something you have to do or else we won't tip. So here's some background. Coming up next is the 2002 bestseller by Malcolm Gladwell, where he outlined it's harder than it looks. Outline the mechanisms whereby diseases and epidemics spread. And he says that the same things can be used, the same techniques can be used to spread ideas, fads, and trends. And he shows us how to do it. So you strike that match. We had a really lucky break. The sixth grader in a white shirt spelled Feldenkrais. And oh my God, did your social media just absolutely light up? We thought we would go viral with this. And we were catapulted out of utter obscurity into relative obscurity. And so I realized that it's at these intersections of our work with small communities who are vectors for our work. We think we want to be popular, and popularity is externally referenced. That means you're always in pursuit of someone else's approval. You're going after the cool kids, and it's not sustainable. Erica Napolitano wrote a book called The Power of Unpopular, and she says you don't want to be popular. If you're valued, loved, and respected, people will talk about you and they'll spread the word like chicken pox through a daycare center. Malcolm Gladwell says it takes only a few people. These people are on your floor, patient zero. You've got strategic influencers, connectors who, like Paul Revere, know everybody. Mavens who are collectors of modalities and cool stuff. And salespeople who are always recommending movies and restaurants. And so we need to put these people to work. If you're not being contagious, we can talk about the tipping point forever and it won't happen. A lot of practitioners want to wash their hands of a responsibility for being part of being infectious. And we stop ourselves from letting the word spread. We think we want a celebrity endorsement or a big ad campaign, and that's a lot of work. Why not take advantage of the people who are lying on your floor who are already enthusiastic about the work? Just, there they are. We argue with people. We make them wrong. We say, oh, it's not exercise. And we shut down their enthusiasm. We're also a little rigid sometimes and a little dogmatic. And so we also are in an echo chamber sometimes. We think because we're talking a lot about ourselves to ourselves, that everybody else must be talking about us too. Outside the echo chamber, nobody cares about the script spelling bee anymore. It's over. So, we need to be contagious. Red and Scarlet here are about to have a big old kiss. So, what can you do to be contagious? Think about that for just a moment. First off, we can ask better questions of our students. Ask them what they experienced. Ask them how it made them feel. Ask them how it's showing up in their life. And then let them talk. let them have a first approximation of talking about the method. We have to teach them and empower them how to express themselves, and also to show them that we value the reflection and the application in their daily lives. If we practice what we preach, we will tip. Birds of a feather flock together. And it's not just other somatic disciplines. We share vocabulary with the slow food movement, with wine tasters. I'm excited about my Quaker practice and the Alternatives to Violence project. So who is your flock? What do we do next? You're not a baby bird anymore. It's time for you to start feeding people. And so go out there, and there are things that are right here. We have been confused about what we're supposed to be doing and who our clients are. So by all means, hire a business coach. By all means, improve your skills. But if you're not willing to be infectious, it's not going to do any good. The easiest door to go through is the one that's open. And you have people who've walked through your door into your classes. You're the ones that have to tip it. You've got one job to do.
Here you go.
How do you follow that? Well, like all of us in this room, I'm growing older. Oh yeah. And like many of you in this room, I know many people in their 80s and 90s who are in really good shape, physically and mentally. And I want that in my future, and I want to prepare myself. How do you do it? Well, we think we've got the answer, haven't we? Yeah, sure. So, my slides aren't moving forward either, which is many of you are familiar with the John Rady book, Spark, where he grabs data from all places that say that aerobic exercise is very powerful for the brain, which means you have to get your heart rate up. And it has neurotrophic positive effects, can help with depression and anxiety. And how do we find that for ourselves? How do you find a balance of activities, or a perfect activity, that gets the brain and the body supercharged enough to create those sort of formative changes, but not overstress the system? Where do you go? Well, Krish, is that really it?
It's a bit of a change because of...
Yeah. My name is Sonia Johansson. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, and I'm based in New York City. And the majority of my clients are older and have a focus on fitness. I was first introduced to the Feldenkrais method about 26 years ago at college. I was studying dance and theatre. You wouldn't know it. But even back then, I had a real aversion to running and sports and anything that got you sort of overly sweaty and like that. So it was really difficult for me to find something that I love and I could commit to, because if you go out into the fitness world, this is what you find. You can do your upper body on this day, your lower body on that day. You do your balance training on days with a T in it, and then you only do cardio on even or odd days. I don't reckon I know which one it is. Anyway, and then there's also this sort of, people are willing to sell you systems, whole body balancing systems, and they look a little bit like the next slide, and they can lead to basically working on your health, you know, these sort of imbalances, postural kind of kyphosis in this neck, and then you end up with something in your asymmetry, and this leg is stronger and that, and then they're just reiterated in our daily lives when we sit at our desk or a car or whatever we're doing. And then you add cardio, which really means you're repeating that over and over and grinding it into the system.
And then there's this. So, Nordic walking. Has anyone heard of it? So, it seems to be the balance of, well, it certainly addresses this whole body idea of involving the upper body and the lower body, because normal walking, of course, your arms are generally free, but with Nordic walking, you're using your upper body more dynamically, and you're getting a lot of forward thrust. So what is Nordic walking? It was created in the 70s by a coach who was working with cross-country skiers, and he wanted to create an off-season program for them. And it slowly percolated through Scandinavia and then into Europe, where it's quite big. And how is it taught? Well, there are lots of people that will teach you how to Nordic walk. And you know how it's taught? Well, imagine you want to play piano. So you go to Lang Lang and you say, hey, teach me how to play piano. And he goes, of course, watch. You do it. And that's how they teach Nordic walking. So I'm hoping that we can help them. So this is where how the Nordic walking came about. So it's an exercise system, cardio, and it certainly derives a lot from Feldentalks and helping people to sense themselves and to create more clear and clean transmission through their skeleton. And it's all done outdoors. We are currently in New York in Central Park, working only on natural terrain like the bridle path where the horses go. And the beauty of that is that the horses go there as well. It's a little sensory. There's the leaves and the flowers and the hair on your skin. And so being outdoors, simply being outdoors, has a great impact on your psychological state. And just seeing the colour green can do that. Did you know that? Lots of things that we know. And so there's lots of challenges to being outdoors. Right, so what we did is we have a fantastic audio system where when you arrive for one of our classes, I hand you a receiver and I've got a transmitter so that you can be almost 50 feet away and you can hear me crystal clear. So it's like giving ATM in the wilds. Yeah. So, and that is the difficulty, is to keep the instruction very detailed, very interesting, very compelling, but not overwhelm people. Because of course, we're walking really fast. We're trying to do 10,000 steps within an hour. That's really fast. Yeah. With good technique. So good technique means that you have to help people understand what that means. And you can see a lot of imagery here of some of our class preparation work, and there's a lot of Feldentalks in there. It's also influenced from Ruthie Alon's work with Walk for Life, PNN patterns, sensory motor learning. And so sometimes imagery is really important. So I'll use this idea of a weather vane to help people create their contralateral pelvic girdle and shoulder girdle relationship, as well as this idea of punting. So there's a few hard rules when it comes to Nordic walking, which is really odd. You've got to keep your elbows straight if you really want to get your upper body transmission. So with Harvard Nordic walking, we really try to embrace technology, and we have online scheduling and into Meetup, if you've heard of Meetup, and it's really interesting how people do tend to get very social, and it's a really wonderful thing. So you don't need a studio, so there's very little overhead, but you do need specific equipment. This is not a Nordic walking pole. That, if you can see, has a handle where the small glove detaches, which is kind of important for being able to release your hand and have your hand relax. You don't need the shorty shorts. I just want to say thank you to the people who came before me. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm very grateful for all the encouragement I've got and all of my teachers. And I thank you very much. Find your passion and get your heart rate up.
The only good news is Lavinia didn't do one of these things, because God, there's so much talent here, and this is so challenging. Okay, propped up? Yes, I think I am by now. Because how many more tools and toys and things can we get on this planet? And what are we going for? But really, we never had instruction booklets to just know how to play. So when we think about what kind of process we're in when we're using these tools, where we really want to embody ourselves differently, I thought it'd be a good time for us to talk about a whole new approach, and that's coming through by way of awareness. I was in my Feldenkrais training and I was immersed with using my sensory awareness, and somebody slipped a roller under my spine. And I just became very differently affected by it than I had been before in other elements. I felt grounded. I felt that I could lose my sense of time. I felt that I could explore, I could examine, I could breathe. I was doing things that really I had never thought about. And tools, don't necessarily have to be something we do independent, but we can use tools in such a way that can be everyday tools. And we find that we can dampen down our nervous system with different ways. How do you feel when you Google the word Feldenkrais rollers and you see this? It's not our intention, is it? And that's really what it comes down to. So I call it prop integration. Because really the props aren't really what it's about, is it? It's about how we approach it. And thank you to Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais, because he provided us with the creative mindset and the way that we can use ourselves so that we can go and make changes. And we do it because we're not trying to cure. We're actually trying to set the conditions up so people can learn and embody some of the things that are based on what we call lessons. So in our Feldenkrais work, we use such great tech tools like kneeling pads for custom head support. We use dolls. They go back from prehistoric times. We are cheeky the way we use our sits bones. And then, next. We are really friendly with the floor. And we use rolled up blankets because guess what? That makes a travel roller. And we've been known to use books for imaginary floor. So we don't have to really evolve beyond that. And thanks to Dr. Chester, we now have movable bendy skeletons. And I can't tell you, with all the technology we have, that makes a big difference when we can see our three-dimensional movement. We use tables with our students in such a way that we dance with them. Sometimes you don't know who's the practitioner, who's the student, but we're usually smiling. So what kind of engineering goes into this? We all can recognize this is Ruthie's touch, isn't it? Because how simple to bring a wrap to be able to create a bone density program that embodies from within. So she helped us with that. We have smart tools, which is a smart roller, and they embody tensegrity concept, which is like Mr. Fuller, so we can use ideas that are very Feldenkrais-like, which is comfort and ease and variability and adaptations, and then coming back to our walking with the Feldenkrais awareness. So what are we looking at? But we're looking at safe play. And when you look at safe play, you give yourself the freedom to do all the things we're talking about. When we're compromised, when we try and do things that are out of our realm of what's really what we should be doing at that point in time, we don't use ourselves in the same way. And this isn't men at work, this is men at play. This was a conference, and there were two Feldenkrais guys. And this was video, which doesn't lend itself well here for the slide. But they were practicing who could balance the roller on their fingertips. I love that. So we can also find ways that's beyond muscles. We can go inside. We can really use a way to connect the skeletal support. And that's another way that we can play with these tools. So the other thing about tools is they often get stuck in your closet and never use them again. And so, would you like to have something that you want to come back to that you'll reuse? So thank you to, we also like to mimic nature. It's really important that we embody what really looks like the real world out there. There are a lot of things that you just gotta wonder. So I have to send out a heart hug to Eleanor Silverstein, because if you follow her blog, you'll watch one of the most precious uses that she's done with her rollers work. So again, I just wanted to mention, also this morning I went to a workshop and we practiced using imaginary bicycles with chairs with Pamela Kim's work. It was wonderful. So we used our minds. It wasn't like we had to have, it wasn't dependent on the props. So I just want to tell you one cute story, and that's, I bought my father a rocking chair for Christmas, which was a little bit of a stigma, you can imagine. I got a text this morning, my sister said, he's using it. And I cannot tell you, what is a rocking chair? It's a swing, it's safe balance, it's movement. And I just think I owe it to this, and we do need to take it out to the American public. Thank you.
Okay, my dear precious Feldenkrais friends. Okay. I'm going to show you 19 slogans that I believe might be useful for promoting and changing the image of Feldenkrais in our culture. So they're going to come up one at a time, and I would like to invite you to join in on the word Feldenkrais. I will read them out loud as they appear, and we will go through them just as soon as... Okay, here we go. Because you're tired of fencing yourself in without even knowing why. You never appreciate how long 50 years Feldenkrais isn't for dummies. You have to be smart enough to want to try it. Because you want to discover who you are capable of becoming without having to buy a special outfit. Where the crowd isn't. Practice being stupid. I got that down. Anyway. Because there is no point in building a better body if you haven't got Don't tell everybody because we don't have room for it. Are you ready to work really hard and suffer along the way? Then you are not ready for because your best deserves to get It really does. Doesn't work. It blossoms. That one's for the ladies because you know if the ladies aren't there, there's no way you're going to get the men to come. So. Because you haven't tried it all if you haven't tried. Because if you really knew how to use what you had, you wouldn't be worried about making more of it. Because there is no point in going anywhere if all of you doesn't get to go. Because anything less is more of the same. If you really do want to try something different,
World-class physicists get...
as she was saying, what happens when a world-class physicist gets physical? If you knew Feldenkrais, you would not have to try to believe utter nonsense all the other places. Because haven't you already had everything else?
So, the winner is Mary Beth